Okay, it is now time to start getting a long block together. So what do you say we get in the old engine building corner here and start working on that 1800 horsepower, procharged, 540. Ooh. Come on, let's go over here.
To the core, push hard and scream for more. Fight, never back down. Warrior in this town, strike in every sound. Rising hearts, pound. Shatter chains in sight, eyes burning with the fight. Fear crumbles to the floor. Unleash the inner roar. Fight, never back down.
So we got the cylinder heads all torqued down. It's not too exciting watching me sit here torquing cylinder heads down. So one thing for you guys, though, that I did want to lay down here is a lot of you guys are not going to use a copperhead gasket. You're going to either use a standard Fel-Pro or an MLS, something like that. But for you guys that are going to try to run a copperhead gasket, here's a little trick to fully torque them down. And for you guys that don't know, when you run a copperhead gasket, what you normally would do is you would run a heat cycle through the motor, pull all your rocker arms off, and then you would re-torque the heads down because copper, aluminum, everything's going to expand and contract and blah, 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 blah. So then you have to go through and actually redo your torque specs. Okay, well, get yourself a couple of heating guns. What we're going to do is we're going to set the heating guns up to where we're going to have one blowing down here, one blowing down here, and then I'm going to use a temp gun, and I'm going to get the cylinder head itself up to operating temperature. So I'm going to get to, say, 180 degrees, and then once it's there, then I'm going to torque the cylinder head down. So it's just like, it's just like mimicking a heat cycle, and then I can put my gestles on, because regular torque arms, rocker arms, torque arms, regular rocker arms, you can kind of move things around, but with a shaft mount, you got to take the shaft system off, and it just makes it a hassle. This is just a nice, easy step and a tech tip for you guys that are going to try to run copperhead gaskets. Get a couple of heating guns. So let's run through that. So these have been going for maybe a minute or so, but you get the idea of what we're doing. And a cold head, we are at 62 degrees. Yeah, 81-ish. So that's only been on for, I would say, put that down, sorry. That's been on for, I don't know, a minute or so. So I'm probably going to let it sit for a couple of minutes here, let it build up, let it do its thing. We want to get up to, like I said, about 180 degrees and just re-torque it. And I'll show you guys once I torque it. You'll see I'll get a little bit more out of it, and then click, and we'll go down there, we'll go tighter from that point. So it's just a waiting game now. So how do we turn this ratty old 15-year-old carburetor into this? Oh, she's looking pretty. So, curious on how I ended up doing it with just some basic tools, some carburetor cleaner, a little bit of elbow grease? Let me show you. So for you guys that don't know, this CSU carburetor I got from Steve Morris. In a previous, well, it's probably back a little bit in his library, but previous video that was late summer of 2024, he ended up doing a 2100 horsepower blow-through carbureted big block Chevy. And this combination's been done for probably about 10 or 15 years. The gentleman ended up, I believe he was from Hawaii. So this carburetor has done very, very well for him. He ended up going to fuel injection. Well, it's seen better days. He ended up going through and actually tuning it, and that was part of the video, that he went through this whole carburetor, and it works fantastic. I am not going to mess with any of the idle mixture screws, needle and seats, anything like that. I'm just going to disassemble this carburetor and clean it up and make it look as good as I can, make it look good again. So that is what this is about. Okay, so that's as far down as I'm going to break everything. And the main body I'm going to attack first, and then we'll go through and we'll detail out the bowls. I have my idle speed, high speed air bleeds, all of that set up. Primaries, secondaries, how I have them labeled. Squirters are up there. Not going to mess with any of that stuff. It was just taking that stuff out to be able to clean everything up, make sure there's nothing gummed up inside there, put it all back together. And then took off the accelerator pump arms. We'll clean those up, detail those up, and go from there. So first things first, let's go attack that main body. Well, what I was using was some carburetor cleaner, a little bit of MEK, and then just using, not steel wool, Scotch-Brite. And it got a good chunk of it clean, but I just can't get the rest of this really cleaned up. So what you see is I got everything duct taped off. What I'm going to do is we are going to put it in the glass bead cabinet, and I'm going to throw it in here. So I tried doing it that way, just didn't quite work good enough. Probably if I spent more time just, going at it and just sanding it and just going to town, maybe, but it's so smooth, it seems like it's all in the pores. So let's go throw it in the cabinet. Okay, so she's out, she's looking good. Let's take everything apart, and now we're going to probably start working on the bowls and stuff like that, but I'm going to clean all of this out just to make sure there's no sand in anything, everything moves freely. I just remembered that in some of the comments I've noticed you guys have asked about, hey, what's going on with the red car? You haven't done anything on that thing lately. Well, I tell you what, because we're still waiting on the engine block and all that stuff. That's why I'm doing the carburetor and everything I'm showing you guys right now. But his carburetor just showed up on that. Let me show you where we're at on the red car real quick here. We'll just do a little brief catch up on that. This thing is really, really nice. This, for some people, they don't like a fully blacked out carburetor. I don't mind it. I do like the traditional, dichromated carbs, I do. But this is really nice, you guys. It looks like everything from the bowls, everything is its own carved out chunk of aluminum. This is way lighter. I mean, way lighter than a regular carburetor. I mean, this has got to be, I would say 3 pounds, 4 pounds lighter than a normal carb, which is like, oh, only 3-4 pounds. That's huge. It's probably half the weight. Here, let me show you guys a little bit of this. You can see from the underside here, I mean, she's just all carved out. I don't know if you guys can actually see like all the CNC marks where they came through here. Same thing on the inside edges of the Venturis, all that stuff. I mean, this thing is an absolute beautiful, beautiful carburetor. They are not cheap. By any means, they are not cheap, but they are one of the best in the business, man. These are, if you can afford an APD, it's top quality carburetor. I mean, I can't say anything bad about, APD. I mean, we run a lot of pro systems. Patrick is awesome, great, fantastic carburetors as well. Everybody's got a nice carburetor, but I mean, APD for like blow through stuff, everything, blow through, naturally aspirated, that is just a kick-ass combination. But I tell you what, for you guys that don't know, let me run you up here on the Camaro, and I'll show you kind of where we're at. I got to pull you off the tripod here, sorry. But this is where we're at. Motor is sitting in the car right now. The transmission is right there. We're waiting on the torque converter. Here, let me pop this up so you guys can see what's going on. So there she be. That is a 15-to-1 made, like I said, 1225, 1230 horse. It is a SR20 632. We are going to put just a small plate kit on it with about a 200 shot. So we'll be making over 1400 horse. The old man doesn't need any more than that. Not in this car. This car is 2875 with him in it, nitrous bottles, full race weight, ready to rock and roll on the scales. This is more than enough for this car to easily run into the sevens. That's plenty quick for the old man. What he's been working on was one of the problems he had was on this shifter. He ended up making this little guy. If you notice, that's way out. I mean, that's really far out. What he was doing was when he was shifting, instead of just pushing it forward, he would grab the whole thing and go forward, and he went right to neutral. He did that for both passes, and the motor went boom. And we don't know if that's the reason why I did it, because obviously going into neutral, you're going to free rev the motor, hit the rev limiter, so on and so forth. Yes, I am going to put in an electric shifter because it has a provision for it. I'm going to try to put an electric shifter in it so he doesn't have to worry about shifting this thing anymore. It's just is what it is. We did a little relocation on this setup. You can see that's your line lock, trans, brake, purge valve. Just like a nice little center console for him for everything he needs. Redid the transmission tunnel a little bit here. This was already done. But what happened was, you can see where this is cut. The tunnel was right about here. So the seat was in the way. You'd have to pull the seat out to be able to get the transmission tunnel out. Well, that doesn't make sense for, being able to have a removable tranny tunnel. So what he did was, he cut that section out, put in some Zeus fasteners there, and it's bolted down below. So now it's a Zeus fastener here. It'll be a Zeus fastener there. You can take that out without having to take the seat out of the car. So that right there is huge. So that is what he's been working on in the car. Also a fire suppression kit from Stroud, because this does not have one in it, and talked about it, and it's just a good choice to, just in case if something happens, to have a fire suppression kit. So that is what's going on with the red car. If you guys want to see a little more of what's going on with the red car, hit me down in the comments. Let me know. If you guys want to see the installation of the Stroud, the fire suppression kit, or hey man, what is that used for? Anything like that, hit me down in the comments. Let me know your questions. I'll be more than willing to answer them either here on a video or I'll answer you directly. And yeah, we'll just kind of go from there. So that is where we're at on the red car. I love that APD carburetor. Yes, the one I'm doing right now and showing you guys how to detail a carburetor up to bring it back to life. No, it doesn't look like that. But It's a heck of a lot cheaper to detail that one up the way I'm showing you, and it's still very presentable. So figured I'd show you this. So let's get back to that carburetor. So here is our finished product. Now, does it look as good as what a brand spanking new one would look? No, I know it doesn't. But for a 15-plus-year-old carburetor, she looks pretty good. Now, keep in mind, it's going to have this hat on top of it, so let's throw the hat on there. So that's pretty much what you're going to be looking at. Now, to me, that's going to be poking out of the hood. I wanted to make sure, you know, that it's going to look the part, that everything's going to look good, and, you know, it's got to look good. It's on black pearl, so, you know, we want to make sure that everything is tip-top as good as I can get it. All right, so we are looking at about 156. Yeah, we're in the 150s here. Let me put this down real quick. So we're in the 150s. On the main top deck surface, we're 156. On the block, right below the cylinder head, we're about 148, 150. So I'm going to let it probably go for about another 15 minutes. Now, it's been going for about an hour and a half. So hit me down in the comments if you guys think that, hey man, this is just a waste of time because of this reason. You're spending an hour and a half with the heat guns, running it through a mocked up heating cycle, so I don't have to pull all the rocker arms off. You know, if you guys are running stud girdle and rocker arms, you know, you're looking at it going, well, it doesn't take me that long to pull everything off. If you're running shaft mounted rockers, you have to take off, you know, all the rockers, the shaft mounted system, and all that stuff. It doesn't take an hour and a half, but the thing is, you have to run it through your heat cycle on a dyno, on a test stand, in the car, pull everything off, put everything on, probably throw it through another heat cycle to relash your valves. Now, is this better than doing that? For me, yes, because it's a one and done. I'm working on other stuff. I'm working on the carburetor. I'm working on other things so I can still be productive. When I'm running it through the heat cycle, I'm just sitting here twiddling my thumbs. You might as well go to lunch and then, you know, retorque the heads down and, you know, wait for things to cool off, put things back on, heat it up again, go through. It's a lot of, you know, going through. For me, it makes sense to do this. So hit me down in the comments if you guys think that what I'm doing is a waste of time. I'd rather just run it through a heat cycle. Okay, guys, we are at operating temperature. I got this set at the 80 pounds that I normally do. This is how much more I'm getting out of this setup. So,
So how much is that? A quarter to a half a turn?
oh, some of these are more than that. You figure if I'm at 2, there's maybe 3. There's noon-ish. Okay, you could see on some of these that when I was torquing them down, that they were going from, say, let's say at noon to like maybe 2 o'clock. Some of them were going from like noon to probably about 4 o'clock. So there was a lot more left in that stud once I heated everything up. Obviously, because the copper is going to actually, get softer, it's going to allow me to tighten it up a little bit more. So I hope that was just a good little tip and trick for you guys that are running copperhead gaskets. And there's many different ways of doing it. Like I said, hit me down in the comments if you guys think that doing this is a waste of time and you would just, go through and do your standard heat cycles and all that stuff. So this is about as far as I got today. We got the carburetor looking all nice and pretty. So that's ready to go, and I figured I would do that while I'm waiting for the cylinder heads to heat up and go through their cycles and all that. So long blocks all together. We're happy on that one. I ordered up push rods, waiting on that, and then some intake gaskets, stuff like that. So next time around, we should be able to button up the valve train, get the intake on, and start doing some mock-ups. I got to figure out belt length because I don't have a belt for the F2 yet. So there's a few little things that we still have to do, and yeah, we're pretty much to that point. And then also hit down in the comments if you guys want to see what's going on in the other end of the barn, if you want to see some more of the go-kart and see more of Schuler and the old man working on their hot rods. Hit me down in the comments if you want to see that. But that's as far as we're going today. So till we meet again, my friends, stay cool, enjoy your hot rods, keep on wrenching. Summertime's coming around the corner before you know it.